You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, welcome to this Wednesday evening episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Hodes. You can follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can also follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. Today's episode is brought to you by Primal Origin Oils. Got beard? Get Primal. Stop the itch and make your beard look healthy and groomed. Check out primaloriginoils.com to learn more about their full line of beard care products and use the code Locked On for a 20% off discount at checkout. We have a first-time guest on the Locked On Penguins podcast today, someone who I've been trying to get on for, I think, a little while now. We finally
Too long, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Sean Gentille of The Athletic. Now I have the trifecta, Sean. I've had Rob on, I've had Josh on multiple times, and now I have you on, the third writer, Penguins-wise at least, from The Athletic. So I'm glad I can have you on. How you doing, man?
Good, buddy. Way to save the third best for last. You gotta get Jesse on here. He'll do a much better job than me.
I should say, yeah, that I've had him on multiple times as well, and the fact that I discounted him like that, he's probably never going to come on the show again.
Yeah, so. No, Jesse is notably one of the meanest people on earth. So yeah, definitely not one of the nicest guys I've ever met, for sure.
Definitely not. No, someone that has hated coming on this show.
No, absolutely. You gotta watch out for him, man. Look out, Michael.
All four of you have now come on. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Sorry it took so long. I know we had some near misses there, but glad to be here.
No worries at all. I'm glad I could have you on, especially, Sean, as the team is playing well, 5 in a row, 10-2 and 1 in their last 13. A lot of fans, I think, were pretty skeptical up until about, I should say a week or two ago, just because that's when they really started this hot streak. There were some people in the fan base that were even panicking about the team. Just what is your overall assessment of the Penguins right now with how they've been playing, especially without a few key members?
Yeah, I think we were getting to that point in the schedule where teams start to treat teams, or think of teams as like they are what they are, right? And I think for the first 6 weeks of the season, the Penguins look like one of those teams, and we've seen it in a lot of different places. There's a few like this every year where everything is fine. The process is fine. There's no like glaring holes goaltending-wise. Jarry's been good, blah, blah, blah. But the 5-on-5 numbers have been great. It was just a matter of whether the pucks were going to start going in, right? All that stuff we look at that, tells us that the process is where it needs to be. Expected goals, blah, blah, blah. Everything for them was great. It was just a matter of, actually having pucks go in the net. And sometimes that doesn't happen. I think that's something that, and I'm speaking for myself here as someone who leans on stats a lot and incorporates that into a lot of my work. Like, you need to realize that some teams are just worse at finishing than others, right? And we're seeing with the Bruins, great example right now, right? They're 5-on-5 juggernaut, but they just don't have enough scoring to be there consistently night in, night out. Happens a few different each year. It happens with a few different teams, and I think we're starting to wonder, at least I was, whether the Penguins were kind of in that bucket. But man, going back, not just in the past 5 games, but even a little bit before that, the pucks are starting to go in. It's puck luck. It happens, and I think we're seeing that in action with them right now.
Yeah, Sean, it's funny because just about a week and a half ago, you look at Jay Fresh's model, who, I've had on the show before. Sure. He's great with his numbers. The Penguins were dead last in their finishing. And, you look at their expected goals, it's around 54, 55 if you go to a bunch of different sites. Yeah. I use Money Puck a lot. So they're at 54 for that. Their finishing has actually gone up a little bit. But, I think that's, I touched on it so many times on my last few episodes. It's just, the process is there and you got to trust it, even though they weren't getting the results. You saw that game against Seattle, right? When, Jeff Carter is getting a goal, like barely even off his stick. and a couple other players, are getting wacky goals as well. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to apologize for that just because this is regression to the mean, right? I
Definitely.
mean, that's what this team has needed since the slow start of the season. So now you're starting to see them actually put the puck in the net. I think a player who is starting to play a lot better lately is Kasperi Kapanen. I mean, there's regression coming for him. He had a really bad start, wasn't himself. I think part of it did have to do with no Evgeny Malkin. He's still not back yet, but I would assume that's coming within the next couple of weeks. But these last, 3 to 4 games, he's putting the puck in the net and getting back, I shouldn't say close to where he was last year because we're not near that point yet, but it's a step in the right direction for him to get back to that level, especially when Gino comes back.
Yeah, and I think he's a guy too where you saw the process improve as well. Like the goals weren't there for sure early on, but he also looked way out of sorts. The numbers weren't great. It was again fair to wonder, if this was the kind of season he was going to have, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's he's been a big part of it. And going back to what you said about regression of the mean, Hunter, like. It happened. There's a reason. It's a mathematical statistical principle. Like it happens more often than not. But again, at a certain point during the season, it's fair to wonder whether it will. And I don't think we were there with the Penguins yet. I don't think I'm certainly not surprised to see this kind of work out. But like as you get towards the halfway point or whatever, I think it's kind of fair to wonder. And it's a good. They're getting good answers now, right? And it's amazing what having Sidney Crosby kind of round into shape can do, and it's amazing what having Evan Rodrigues play like Sidney Crosby can do. So it's things are going well. Not entirely surprised, but you look at the division, you look at the conference. It was time to go on a streak like this, and they're lucky they did.
Yeah, I mean, they had that big Western Canada road trip, and then, of course, the Seattle where they went 3-1-1. I know they had that hiccup against Montreal, Calgary, and Edmonton, but, they have this really nice stretch of games here against teams lower than them where they can continue to bank those points in. Right now, they're close to 6 points clear of that ninth-place team, and I think they're also taking advantage of the fact that, at least in my opinion, the Metro isn't as strong as some people thought it would be.
Agree.
I had that take come into this year, Sean. People said this was going to be the toughest division. I didn't see it. That said, I was wrong a bit on the Rangers. I didn't think they would be this good, but I think they're mainly being driven by their Igor Shesterkin and just their top talent because I don't think they have a lot of depth, at least in my opinion. But that's all you need sometimes, and they're taking advantage of that. But, Carolina, Washington, Pittsburgh, other than that, there's really not a lot there. I mean, sure, Columbus has been okay, but do people think that they're going to continue to play like this? I don't really think that, at least in my opinion. And going back, before we get to a commercial break, to Evan Rodrigues, Sean, I mean, this is just ridiculous.
Crazy.
At this point. I mean, you see all the numbers with Rodrigues, just with his 62% wins above replacement this year. 83% the last couple of years. This comes courtesy of Jay Fresh's stuff. Even strength offense for the last couple of years combined, 87%. Just drawing penalties, he's in the 90th percentile. I mean, he's been one. This isn't how do I say this right? He hasn't just been one of the best players on the Penguins this year. He's been one of the best players in the league.
I know, it's wild. I had that sort of thought when we were doing some Olympic roster work, and you're sorting by country and all that stuff, and you're like, wow, like could Andrew Mangiapane make Team Canada, right? So you sort by nation of origin and all that stuff, what you can do on some sites, and you're like, oh yeah, Mangiapane is great, blah blah blah, all these like breakout guys who are trying to find if there's a place for it in the Olympic discussion. Well, who's ahead of all of them? It's Evan Rodrigues, right? It's crazy. It's the stat profile is amazing. It's really impressive. And then you just throw in the fact, in kind of a less quantifiable way that dude's playing with swagger. He's playing with confidence, and he talked about that after last night when he had another 3-point night or whatever it was against Montreal, right? Like he's feeling it, and like, look, the dude just tied his career high for goals, and we're in game 28 or whatever it is. It's been great. It's really, and you said it, dude. Sustainable, really, really impressive stuff. And they needed a guy like that to step up, especially not just with no Jake Gentile for the last week or two. You're talking going back really from the jump. He was a legitimate first line center, really, really, really from the start, without Crosby, without Malkin, with Kapanen, not producing, with Brian Rustin, and like all this stuff. All, like, say what you will, the constant in the Penguins lineup this year, as crazy as it is, has been Evan Rodrigues. So yeah, man, kudos to him. Really impressive stuff.
Yeah, man, it really is nuts just because, there were people, throughout the offseason saying they should keep Frederick Gaudreau over Evan just because, he didn't really do much last year. That $700K is looking like a bargain, I would say right now. If he keeps this up, he is going to get a lot of money.
Yeah, baby. You can't. Yeah, he's gonna get a lot more than $700K on that next deal. Yeah, no, it's you can't spend it much wiser than that. He's like I said. Yeah, it's a thing you see with a lot of teams, whether it's rookies, whether it's cheap guys. Every good team, we're going back to whether we're talking about Connor Sherry and Gensel on entry level deals, whatever. You got to have some guys that are productive and cheap, and you take them where you can get them. And I think Evan Rodrigues is about as good of an example as you can get of that.
Yeah, 100%, man. And it's great that they can play him anywhere in the lineup. I'm honestly getting to the point now where I would keep him with Sid and Jake once Jake comes back, and move Brian Rust down to the second or the third line. I think he's a perfect fit there, and it gives them an extra option for the lineup if this team ever does get fully healthy.
And that's something Mike Sullivan said about him really going back, right? Is he loves his versatility, and it's true. Evan Rodrigues was a classic, like, useful player on a bad team with the Sabres for a couple years. We were like, I think this guy might be something. I think he might have a role on a better team. Clearly, that's something that the Penguins agreed with, but you're talking like, oh, good, useful fourth liner, can play up a little bit if he needs to, not like a legitimate, top line piece for any protracted amount of time. And even if this is it for him, right? Even if he comes back and just ends up as a nice complimentary piece, I think he'll take it. It's been amazing.
Yeah, 100%, man. I can't wait to see what he does the rest of the year. Still have a lot more to get to for this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Before we do that, though, this holiday season, grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, or even better than a candy bar, Built Bar. It's filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with decadent flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat. You get the best of both worlds. It's delicious and it's healthy. Built Bar gives you that extra fuel you'll need to bust down those mall doors and battle all the holiday shoppers. Or if you're just standing in endless shopping lines, Built Bar can give you that extra something to keep you going. Because it's the season of peace and love, don't bring up your favorite Built Bar flavor at family parties. People are very passionate about their favorite flavors. If you are friends
wait a second, Hunter. What's your favorite flavor?
So it's tough. Honestly, I think the cookies and cream is my top one. Though a close second is the peanut butter run.
I love it, man.
I can't go
always good.
Yeah, what's yours?
Dude, I gotta knock out one of those peanut butter ones. That sounds great. I'm gonna go head over to Rite Aid and snag one of those.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. You can use this offer too. You can go to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off your order. That's if you want to order online, of course. If you want to cozy up with something warm, here's a holiday secret. Dip your Built Bar into a piping hot cup of hot chocolate and let it melt a little and give your beverage a bit of that Built Bar flavor. That's something that I'm going to have to try as well. Plus, you'll have a nice melty Built Bar to go with it. Be sure to have a couple napkins on hand. Remember, go to built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off that order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. Now, maybe you're that guy who has never considered the benefits of treating your beard with product. Myself, I definitely have not done that too much just because I usually just grow it out a little bit as it is here and then I'll just shave it. But Primal Origin oils will stop the itch and make your beard look healthy and groomed. The products are free from harmful synthetic ingredients and with low impact on our planet. Primal Origin Oils makes balms, oils, and whipped butter that are renowned as the best feel and beard products available. All products are fair trade certified and handcrafted in the United States. The combo kits make a great holiday gift, and if you're shopping for yourself, you will be glad you did. You will be glad you did. Excuse me. We know that every company claims to have the best, but Primal Origin Oils challenges you to compare their ingredients and the feel and beard to the other products you've used. We promise you will see and feel the difference. Remember, the code LOCKEDON gets you 20% off at primaloriginoils.com. Use the code LOCKEDON at checkout for 20% off. Okay, so we're back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. Sean, I think not enough people are talking about Mike Sullivan so far, and I think I shouldn't say that's for the Penguins because a lot of Penguins fans and media talk a lot about him. I should say this goes for a lot of the national media. That cover the sport. And, with the Jack Adams every year, he's just been basically snubbed for some divine reason. I guess he's not getting the goaltending luck that some of these other coaches get or some other reason. But would you say this year so far is the best coaching job we've seen from Mike Sullivan for as long as he's been here, or would that go to last year?
It's a good question. I feel like in a lot of respects, every year is better than the last with him, right? Like we're talking about, is this year better? Is last year better? The man has won. That's without considering that the dude's won 2 Stanley Cups. It's wild to me. I don't know why he hasn't got. And first off, the Jack Adams, like the nature of that award is silly because it's a small group of people that vote on it. It's broadcasters, and it's a goaltending award. Like that's more often than not, it goes to the guy who was carried by goaltending or PDO or whatever. That's typically the way that it goes. It is not given enough to a coach who meets expectations, right? Like I think and does whatever it takes to meet those expectations. People just take it for granted that the Penguins are going to be, a contender and that Sullivan's going to do a good job, I think. And that's been true for a couple of years. So, man, I don't know. I at this point, even though he, last year was, like you said, I think that was as good as we've seen it from him, really. But I thought he would have gotten more love last year than he did this year. So I'm done assuming that he's gonna make any real headway there. But I will say this: you look at the league so far, and it's like, stuff's starting to shake out. Maybe it's Dallas Aikens, Anaheim's playing above their head. Maybe it's Daryl Sutter, he's done work in Calgary, what have you. But I don't know, man, doing a great job. It's crazy. It's crazy because for as much love as Sullivan has heaped on him locally, there's a little bit of a vacuum nationally. It's very funny to see.
Yeah, and I said this on Tuesday's episode, man. I mean, there's going to be a day where a lot of people are going to be missing, Sullivan when he eventually is gone. I don't know if he'll be fired or if he'll step down or something like that. But he has done a phenomenal job this year, especially with, that huge COVID outbreak they had with almost 10 positive tests. They've had multiple top 9 forwards out. They have 3 of them right now. And the fact that they're playing at such a high level without those players just goes to show how great of a coach he is, just because they're not really making a lot of errors on a nightly basis right now. I mean, even if you don't look at the underlying numbers, I obviously look at them quite a lot. You can just look at their game and see that, this has his footprints.
100%. No, this is a team playing, the platonic ideal of Mike Sullivan hockey, right? And you can tell with the way he talks about it every night. Like he's thrilled with the way they're going out and competing, and he's said consistently like that we think the results will come if we play the right way, on and on and on, right? Like we've heard it from him more than enough, and the results are starting to follow. Doesn't hurt that Tristan Jarry has been good and whatever, credit there, but he's finding a way to assemble 4 productive lines on a nightly basis, and dealing with COVID stuff and dealing with injuries and on and on and on. The list is long, and he deserves whatever credit he gets. I hope he wins to Jack Adams before it's all said and done, because he's as good as it gets.
I just hope he's nominated first.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, we'll see what happens, man. Like we're at the point now where the pretenders are really starting to fall away. The Columbuses of the world, all these teams where we're like, all right, this probably isn't sustainable. So maybe this is the year. I hope it is.
I sure hope so, man. And again, you're right. It doesn't help that Tristan Jarry has done a complete 180 from last year. You go to Money Puck right now, Sean. He is, as of this morning, 6th in goals saved above expected.
Crazy. I saw that earlier. It's nuts.
A little behind Shesterkin. Frederick Anderson's been really good. Jack Campbell's been really good. But I mean, if you were to make a Vezina list today with the top 3 candidates, I think he would be a finalist. At least for me, with how ridiculous he's been this year. I think people in the fan base have – I shouldn't say they've been waiting for the wheels to fall off. I don't think that's fair. But, they're waiting to see if his play ever dips. But right now, it's not. I mean, I've said this on the podcast so many times. I'm sure my listeners are tired of hearing it. You're not going to write a redemption story through the first 2 months. But if he plays this way and then shows out in the playoffs and starts to win them around and, gives them at least average goaltending, that's going to win a lot of people over. But I think a lot of this, Sean, the credit has to go to Andy Chiodo. I noticed Tristan is so much more aggressive this year playing in goal. I mean, he's gotten better in shootouts, and that really is not going to matter come playoff time. But just his all-around game is such a 180 from last year, where, again, I really think a lot of it has to do with Chiodo, but I think a bunch of it has to do with him putting in the work and, being someone that the team can rely on night in and night out.
Oh, absolutely, man. The fact of the matter that we're even praising Jarry as much as we are shows how good he's been. There were some hurdles to jump. There were some ladders to climb for people to even want to entertain the fact that he was, part of the solution here after last season. So I think, you add that degree of difficulty. This is something me and Josh, we talk about a lot. Like, at what point, are we going to stop being like cautiously impressed by the way he plays? I don't know if it's now. I don't know if it's in May, but at some point, people are going to have to take. He's gonna either establish himself or not, right? And I think everything he's done so far has gone in the right column. He's been really, really, really good, and they've needed him to be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The game that comes back to me, even though they lost, Sean, that one against Calgary, where he just carried their corpses in that one. I remember Josh asked Mike Sullivan a couple questions, and but besides the goalie, are you happy with the team playing tonight?
Nope.
It was just
that's it, man. That's one of those rare times that Sullivan was just noticeably, audibly, vocally pissed about the team's performance, right? And it doesn't happen that often. That's the other thing. Going back to Sullivan, you can tell when he likes the team a lot and when he doesn't. And I think he loves his team. I think he loves the way that it's playing. And it's a lot easier to love your team whenever you're getting reliable. I don't know if I quite have Jarry in the top 3 yet, but he's rightfully on the periphery of the Vezina stuff, and that's deserved.
Yeah, I mean, it's close just because all the goalies above him have been playing just as good, if not better. I mean,
yeah, and that's no knock on him, right? There's a lot of good goaltenders in the league, right? Like there's no shame in saying like, oh, I have him 6th or whatever. Like, that is a hell of a step up from the stuff that me and you and anybody else were saying about this guy, 9 months ago or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, you got Sergei Bobrovsky somehow playing out of his mind this year. Jacob Markstrom, again, Shesterkin, Jack Campbell, all those guys.
UC Saros having another good year. Like, there's some solid performances out there, but the fact that he can even be mentioned in that breath. Again, I said 9 months ago. That was not 9 months ago. That was 6 or whatever.
7 now.
5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Either. Where time is collapsing on itself, right? Like, we have just who knows at this point. But no, man, we're a long way from Game 5 against the Islanders at this point. That's fair to say.
Yeah, Well, I think I can speak for everyone that listens to this show, and especially myself. I've blocked that out of my memory.
Yeah. What? I'm sorry. What? I don't know what I was talking about. I'm not sure what happened in Game 5 against the Islanders.
Yeah, all I remember is that the Penguins outplayed that team so bad, and they just didn't get the right goaltending. But hey, I'm definitely not over that.
Yeah.
Series.
Hey man, that's Jarry's job. It's to make you completely forget about it, and we'll see. He's doing about as good of a job as you could expect right now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Still have a little more to get to in the next segment, including, yes, we are going to ask Sean about that Snoop Dogg article, because that's incredible. We even got to talk to Snoop Dogg, and I definitely have a couple questions about that. But first, BetOnline has you covered all season, and that means more props, odds, and lines than ever before, especially as the NFL season continues to the march of the playoffs. Hopefully the Steelers will be able to get in, but I think at this point that's probably more of a pipe dream, though they are half game out. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. You can head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use that promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. That is BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, so we're back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can also follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. All right, Sean, I'm going to ask about it. That story was incredible. Are we going to get Snoop Dogg coming on a Penguins game with the OG jersey on?
God, it needs to happen, right? I was looking at the schedule. I had my fingers crossed, hoping there'd be a game against the Kings or something in March where they were wearing it. So I don't know, man. I hope it happens. I know Snoop's got a new album out, and he's gonna tour in support of it and all that stuff. Maybe it happens. I hope to God it does. I'll tell you this: if the Penguins reach out, I'm pretty sure he would say yes. I think Snoop is ready and willing and available for all public bookings like that.
And of course, he's already a Steelers fan. I love that he said his nephew, Sidney Crosby.
Love it, man.
He's incredible, man.
Add that to the trophy case for Sid, right? And that's one of the biggest honors and any of us could receive. Uncle Snoop.
I mean, what they need to do, just announcement of the game, and then he comes out with like a little red carpet with riding the bicycle with the jersey on.
Perfect.
I mean, that's just
God.
The entrance right now. Then you can send him up and then let him commentate on either the radio or the TV broadcast. More likely the TV.
Send out Mario riding the beach cruiser. Have him be the bike driver. Throw Snoop on the handlebars. Seems too easy.
We need that to happen. Just it definitely sounds like after reading that article, Sean, he definitely, I think, follows the Penguins more than I think I or some other people wanted to believe. I know, obviously, he's in LA. He's commentated on the Kings games. He actually just did, if I'm not mistaken, the other week. So obviously, that's probably his first love. But he seems to have quite, a big bond with the city of Pittsburgh, and I would probably assume that, he would just – he is kind of a little bit of a closet Penguins fan.
Oh, for sure, man. Like he's got that relationship with Sid. They've interacted before, and Snoop's a mercenary sports fan. I got respect for it. We'll see him in Rams jerseys if the time's right or whatever. That dude knows you don't have a 30-year career or a 28-year career or however you want to measure it without giving the people what they want. So he knows what he's talking about. One of his guys, dude by the name of Kevin Barkey, huge hockey fan from London, Ontario. He played midget with Jeff Carter or something when I was talking to him. So I think Snoop has the right people around him to keep him tapped into the NHL world, and we're all better for it, man. It's been a lot of fun the last couple of days.
Best article that's been posted on the Athletic Bar.
Wow. That's not true, but it's an honor. Thank you.
It was great. I'm glad that he was
thanks, bud.
talking about the third jersey, especially, and just how much it's meant to him over the years and all that. Going back to the team right now, Sean, another player that I think has played really well, Danton Heinen. He was someone that I really stood up for this offseason. Some people compared him to Mark Jankowski. Didn't really see that comparison just because the two don't even play the same styles.
Yeah.
And Heinen already has 8 goals last year. He had 7 in 43 last year. We're not even at game 30 right now, and he's already more than equaled that. Just how impressed have you been with Heinen overall?
Yeah, he's been a useful player for most of his for more often than not in his career. He did some good stuff for the Ducks. I don't know if anybody anticipated him coming in and being, whatever. He's on track to score 20 goals or whatever. We'll see if that happens. But I will say, early on with the Bruins, he had a little bit of a track record there as a rookie. He seems like always seemed like a guy who's capable of potting 10, 15, 17. Whatever. And it's been good to see him put it together. Honestly, I mentioned it with Rodrigues before. These are the guys you need. That's what quality depth looks like. And everything is where it needs to be. The thing about Dan Heinen is that it's not been just about goals. If stuff dries up and the shooting percentage drops in the next little bit, you say, thanks for what you provided. You're still doing offensively. You're still doing enough good stuff across the board, and you take what you can get. Yep. But between him and McGinn, it's been solid for sure.
Yeah, Brock is, he's been much better, I think, the last week or two. After he started the season, he was a bit slow, but I think he was getting acclimated with the team. I'm of the opinion now, Sean, that the fourth line this year is definitely, I think, just as good as the one last year, and it has the opportunity to be better just because. And I love Brandon Tanev. I love what he brought. I think personally McGinn has more of an offensive punch than Tanev. I think, it might be recency bias just because McGinn was really good for Carolina last year. But you're seeing it these last few weeks with his goal scoring ability and playmaking and just his play in the defensive zone with Aston Reese and Bluger. That's a line that Mike Sullivan can throw out to the Wolves whenever he wants.
Absolutely, man. And you do have a little bit of that duplication of Tanev, right? Like not that McGinn and Tanev are identical players or anything, but there's a certain similarity there. I think McGinn's got a better shot, maybe not quite, obviously not as much of a maniac and shit disturber as Brandon Tanev is, but man, it's worked, and I think you got to give Hextall and Sullivan credit for identifying a player like that and putting him in a position to succeed. The margin for error on these offseason moves was just non-existent, right? Like you couldn't blow it on McGinn or Heinen, really. And they haven't. They've done exactly what they needed. So credit to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Hextall has had more good than bad. Obviously, the McCann move kind of still stings in a lot of people's mind. Including my own, he's been awesome with Seattle. But, Brock has been really good since signing that deal. One more for you, Sean, before I let you go. Our nice Jewish boy, Jason Zucker here. The guy is just – he plays his ass off on a nightly basis, part of my language. But for some reason, the puck is just not going in for him. And that last night against Montreal, man, beautiful chance on a 2-on-1, clangs it off the pipe. A few games before that, hits a couple other posts. He's getting the chances, and just like last year, the puck is not going in the back of the net. I think his playmaking ability has been better, especially compared to last year. But, something I think has to give at some point, right? Because Kapanen, who was struggling, has been much better. But I think it's time for Zucker to start stepping up a little bit. I think it's just because of the money that he makes.
That's it. If he made $2 million a year or $2.5 million a year, nobody would give him a second thought. But the contract makes it tough. When you make that much money, you're in on this team and given what they gave up for him, not just in terms of cap space now, but the assets they sent back to Minnesota. You got to start scoring goals, right? Or you'd like to see it at some point if you're the Penguins. Now, the thing about Zucker that saves him is he does a lot of other stuff well. You can drop him down and he's going to give you a lot, but that's a big price to pay. That's a hell of a price tag to have on a nice bottom six fit. And it seems like that's what he is more often than not.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to reunite him with Evgeny Malkin once he comes back. I would assume they might, just to see if that can get him going and try to do that line with Kapanen last year. But yeah, man, it's definitely tough sledding for him out there. But
there's something about the way he plays with Malkin too. Where I know they were productive with Kapanen, but that doesn't. I don't know. I'm not sure what they have there. Maybe that's it. Maybe they just say like, all right, dude, like you are what you are. Thanks for your contributions. We're done putting you in a position, in a prime position with one of the big boys. Try to take your shots elsewhere. I mean, there's worse things than that. He's a productive player. He's good at a lot of stuff. He's the goal scoring just isn't there, and it doesn't. I don't know about you, man, but it feels like I think I'm done. I think I'm done waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I don't know if they'll put him with Jeff Carter to potentially see if that's going to get him going, but I mean, time is running pretty short here, and I've been one of his biggest defenders ever since they acquired him, and the fact that he just hasn't been able to put it all together, especially after that great run after he was acquired in 2019-20, and then in the bubble against Montreal,
Yeah,
when I
man.
thought he was one of their 5 best players.
Yeah, me too.
To be honest, he just hasn't been able to get back to that level, and it's really disappointing to say the least.
Yep, he's in a season where a lot of stuff has gone right for them, and a lot of guys have outkicked their coverage and outpaced expectations and whatever. Like he's one of the holdouts. It would go a long way if he was the Jason Zucker of 2018 or whatever. But I don't know. It's a tough sell right now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And Sean, I really appreciate you coming.
Oh yeah, dude. Thanks for sticking with me. We gotta do it again sometimes. It's fun.
Absolutely, man. I'm definitely gonna have you on at some point down the road here, probably maybe towards a little past the halfway point, maybe towards the trade deadline or something like that. Really appreciate the insight, and in case anyone does not follow this guy on Twitter, that's
congratulations if you don't. You're smart people out there.
Just a little bit. Plug in your socials where they can find you in case they do not follow you.
Sean Gentille. It's like Gentile with an extra L. Shout out to Jason Zucker. But yeah, I'm a writer at the Athletic. You can check out just Google my name if you're interested. I'm sure there's some deal where you can sign up for cheap. So holler.
It's the perfect way to go out right there.
I'm a veteran of the process, baby.
There you go, man. That's what I like to hear. Again, thank you all so much for listening to this one, and we'll have another episode for you all on Thursday.